is Brock at this point taking too much criticism for this loss? And is there maybe someone else who could shoulder some of this criticism, some of this burden, share some of this responsibility?
Yeah. By watching his press conference, the last two, which was post game and his regular weekly spot that he does, he's taking it the way he should, as far as a quarterback should be taking it, as far as, you know, he is the most important position on the team. And this is what you want to see out of any quarterback at any stage of their career, taking full responsibility, but he's wearing it a little too much. I feel like
it's all directed at him. It's all directed at him.
Yeah, I'm starting to see now where it's just like the logic is a little disjointed, in my opinion. I feel like if you can say on one hand that Brock will be okay, some of the picks were his fault, then what lends a phrase like that is, all right, well, who's the rest of the picks? Whose fault are those? Yeah. Right? Where does that come from? And I feel like that's the conversation that we're not having. We're not talking about if the team is willing to come out and say, and many of experts who are former quarterbacks and the like can say that the picks weren't Brock's fault, then whose were they? Right. And moreover, go ahead.
Well, you can finish your thought. I just want to come back to that first pick in a second, but I'll keep going. Finish your thought.
No, and I was just going to say, and also we have to start looking at the game in its totality. I feel like we let the rest of the team off the hook when we only focus on turnovers, right? Yeah. That's not all that happened Monday night. It wasn't the fact that Brock was just throwing picks, okay? Yeah. We weren't running the ball. All right. We weren't running the ball in situations where we should have ran the ball. We weren't consistent on defense. We were missing tackles. Right. We did not contain Lamar Jackson. Like, right. I feel like the picks overshadowed a lot of things that were exposed against the Ravens. And it's unfortunate because Brock is going to be a martyr. He's not going to shirk responsibility. I don't even think it's in him. Right. So, yeah. I do feel as though that there are a lot of things being uncovered, especially when you watch the film. So yeah, I do. I believe that
let's talk about that for a second, because it's like, I want to talk about one play in particular. So the way Kyle Shanahan framed it is essentially the Niners lost because of the turnovers, the penalties. That's it. Mm-hmm. And 4 of the turnovers were committed by one person, but 3 of those 4 turnovers were bad luck. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially one of those things. They lost the game. Bad luck happened. Stuff happened. Mm-hmm. But that first pick was Brock's fault. Kyle's very clear about that, right?
Yeah.
First pick was Brock's fault. Bad decision, can't make that throw. True. And Brock said it today, like, I really forced the issue. I just had 2 explosive plays. I was feeling aggressive. I wanted to go for it. Mm-hmm. He said, we didn't have the right coverage for the play. So I should have checked it down. And it was very diplomatic of him to say that, but let's slow down. They didn't have the right coverage for the play. Go back and watch the All-22. It looked to me like that play would have been successful. First of all, it looked to me like the first read on that play was use check.
Yes.
And it looked like that route combination with him, he use checks all the way to the outside, Kittle's inside. So use checks the number 1 receiver, Kittle's 2. Use check runs that little out and in pivot route, and Kittle runs an out route into the corner who would be covering use check if it were man-to-man coverage. It looks like a man-to-man beater, but it's zone. So use check's covered. And Debo's covered. No one's open on the play. It would have been really nice if Kyle Shanahan had come out and been like, look, Brock forced it. He can't do that. He should have checked it down. But frankly, the play I gave him was all wrong for that coverage. Right. And I have to do a better job of giving him plays that work. Where the best thing Brock could have done on that play was check it down for like a gain of nothing. And that's on Kyle. It would have been nice if Kyle's so quick to be like, look, all this isn't Brock's fault, but this thing right here is definitely Brock's fault. Hey, man, when have you ever said that about something you did? This right here was, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you just look at the way the game unfolded, all of us were trying to understand why we were forcing the issue with our quarterback going against one of the best pass defenses in the NFL with the leading rusher on the same offense. it's kind of crazy that even when they they threw 2 picks before they even started going to Christian on the ground. And when they did, they had their most fruitful drive. They scored right before 3
picks.
Yeah, they had thrown 3 picks before the half, and the only fruitful drive that they had was the 6th place for 67 yards, where that entire drive was Christian McCaffrey. Shot pass to Christian McCaffrey, 3-yard run by Christian McCaffrey, run up the middle by Christian McCaffrey, 48 yards by it's the entire drive. And then we go into the second half, we come out, and what do? We pass 3 times in a row. We run to the right.
It was a run and 2 passes.
It was a run down for 1 yard to the right. And then when we run, we go to the right.
Yeah,
we don't even go to the left. And these are the things that right now there's people sitting here saying that, well, the Niners put up this many yards, and the picks notwithstanding, you know, this would have been a much tighter game. That's bullshit. I feel like the Ravens were smart enough to understand that we're willing to sacrifice what things that you guys like to get into to be able to take away what you really want to get to, right? Which is the run game and the line of scrimmage. They dominated the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And Kyle's game plan was almost as if he knew it. He conceded, right? Yeah. One of the things about being a physical football team.
But hold on, real quick though. If you're losing the line of scrimmage, why are you running behind Colton Kivitz? Shouldn't you be running behind Aaron Banks and Trent Williams? That's the only chance you got to get a little movement at the point of attack.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand why they didn't come out with their edict. I know that we did that against the Eagles. We spreaded them out to keep them honest. But notwithstanding, the Eagles had holes, man. They definitely aren't as stout as the Ravens across the board, and they damn sure don't have a Kyle Hamilton. And I feel like the Niners played against a team with good linebackers, guys that know how to flow to the ball and come downhill. And I mean, there were plays where Patrick McQueen was taking on Aaron Banks, taking on Cohn and McKivitz at the point of attack and stonewalling them. All right, to spill runners outside. These guys came to play. And I told you this in our pre-show conversation, but the facts is that the Niners were focused on X's and O's, and the Ravens came in about Jimmys and Joes. And that's what it was. The Ravens came in to win matchups and to beat ass. And we came in there to run a scheme, right? And that's what happened.
I just felt like Kyle had the wrong game plan. He definitely brought the game plan from the Eagles game, and it worked against the Eagles. But Baltimore's different. And the way he used McCaffrey, this has nothing to do with Purdy, okay? The way he used the other MVP candidate on the team, 14 carries, 10 targets. That's strange because as a runner, he averaged 7.4 yards a pop. As a receiver, he averaged 4.7 yards per catch. He had 28 yards on. That was not working. What was working was just handing it off to him. And I don't understand why Kyle Shanahan, one, thought his game plan should be pass to Christian, not hand off to Christian, and 2, why he never adjusted. I don't get that.
I feel like they were trying to win a certain way. Lamar Jackson, right when he had his post-game interview, they almost kind of they wanted to give him congratulatory kudos for basically shutting down the MVP that night, but they also knew that they had to touch on his numbers, which weren't MVP numbers if you just looked at the numbers, right? And that's the reason why the eye test matters so much when you start looking at evaluation, because numbers can fool you on what people say, that what people generate. And Lamar's first answer to, hey, Lamar, hey, congratulations on the day, but I know it doesn't necessarily show up as dynamic on the stat line, but this was an impactful game. And he was like, dude, I can give 2 shits about the performance. I just wanted to win. That was our whole motivation. We just wanted to beat them. The problem is that people get caught up in trying to stop what the Niners do, but they don't come out and just try to out physical them. They're not as physical. And I feel like the Ravens are one of those teams where they make you have a real discussion about who you are as a football team first, because that's who they are. They force you to stick to your identity because they're not going to budge. They're going to be who they are. And with the Niners, they try to get I'm going to be honest. When we face teams, you see how fear gets coached into the defense that we play. They go zone. They're all trying to keep everything in front of them, and we just play with their fear. We play with their anxiety of not being able to man up against us and having a weaker zone. And the Ravens, they flat out understood, like, I think we're just better than these guys pound for pound. Like, you want to run outside zone. You're not going to run outside zone with John Feliciano. That's not happening, right? No. Like, you want to run, you can run all the plays you want, but Patrick McQueen is not getting blocked by Deebo Samuel. That's not happening. So I feel as though that we got a live body and a real opponent in the Ravens because they take it back to old school. They kind of take the X's and O's out of it, and they really want to fight.